Hi everybody, today I'd like to talk to you about atoms, and I'm going to make a little video which I've entitled Encoded Atoms. Now, if I may, before I start, I'd like to say that I've been contacted by a number of people who question the information that I've been putting recently on the internet about space and time and so on, telling me that what I say flies completely in the face of what they learn in schools and universities. And they ask me, why should they believe what I say? And obviously, I can't answer that. You either believe me or not. But I will just say that there's a gentleman called William Tompkins, I believe, who is quite elderly now, but spent his life working on scientific projects, and he was often aided by a group of what we would call aliens that are called the Nordics. And he said that everything that is taught in schools and universities is a lie. It is not the truth. Now, I'm rather hoping that what I'm telling you is the truth. But it's up to you to decide. Now, before I start talking about atoms, I will just say that I'm going to ask you to imagine that there are zillions of atoms, countless atoms, although, as I've said in previous videos, there's actually only one subatomic particle that moves so quickly that it appears as if it's a lot of atoms. But bear with me, and for the sake of this talk, try to imagine that there are lots of atoms. Also, I will say that those who know that atoms are constructed in quite complicated fashions, bear with me, because I'm going to ask you to imagine that they're just little balls of energy. It's for the sake of being able to explain what I'm going to say. Okay? So let's get going. Encoded atoms. Oh, well, I'm going to, this is so complicated, I'm going to read it, so I'm sorry. Everything on Earth and all the other planets is made of atoms. I understand that even what we call space is full of atoms. And that is a lot of atoms. Now, I know that atoms are themselves quite complex structures, protons, neutrons, and electrons, and they organize themselves to form what we call atoms. These atoms then combine to form larger structures, which continue to combine until we have all that we see around us: earth, stones, plants, animals, people, and planets, including space. The whole galaxy is made of countless atoms combining in different ways to create everything, both visible and invisible. Just to name some of the atoms, we have hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and so on. Now, have you ever considered how these atoms know what it is they are going to construct? How they're going to make a person, or a horse, or a dog, or whatever? To start to understand the nature of atoms, we have to realize that just like the objects atoms create, they have 7 auras. Each individual atom has its physical part and 7 auras. Further, and most importantly, each atom contains the Spirit of God. Thus, each atom is alive. In fact, atoms, as imagined by science and physics, do not exist quite like that. In fact, atoms, as I've said before, are the singularity, the subatomic particle, excuse me, I've got to change the page, the subatomic particle that was mentioned in a previous video that whizzes about creating everything under the control of the directors of life. The important point to realize is that atoms are alive, and because the directors of and because of the directors of life, could be considered to be intelligent or at least under intelligent control. The way that this happens is as follows. The directors take a point of life, the God particle, and they tell it that it is destined to be an atom of, say, oxygen or hydrogen or whatever. However, and this is the point that I am trying to make, not only do the directors of life tell this point of life that it is going to be, say, an atom of oxygen, they also tell it that it is destined to be drawn towards a particular something on Earth or in space. By this I mean that they take a point of life and not only tell it that it is going to be, say, an atom of oxygen, but also tell it that it is going to make, say, a human. Then they take another point of life and not only tell that point of life that it is also going to be an atom of, say, oxygen, but that it will make a drop of water, or make a blade of grass, or a horse, or a pig, a frog, or any other thing that uses oxygen to create its body or is needed to live. They do the same for every other atom. The directors of life not only tell each point of life that it is going to make a particular atom, but they put a stamp on that atom that tells it what its destination is, to make a human or an animal of some kind, or a fish or water or earth or whatever is required to be made. This implies that for all the millions of atoms of, say, oxygen that are hanging around you or I, only those atoms that have a human stamp on them are drawn towards us. All other atoms of oxygen that are in the atmosphere with other stamps on them are ignored, waiting until they are required to help create whatever it is that they are destined to create. It is our old friend, the law of mutual attraction, that controls all this. This applies to all other types of atoms that exist, hydrogen, carbon, phosphorus, or whatever. The directors of life not only tell each atom what it is going to be, but also tell each atom what its destination is, to be a human, or an animal, or a plant, and so on. These atoms are drawn by the law of mutual attraction to help in the creation of one specific type of entity and remain in suspension until it is called into action by whatever it is designed to help, create, or sustain. Now, I have explained about atoms and presented them to you as separate particles in order to try to help you understand the principle that atoms not only exist but are given a stamp that tells each atom its function, its destination. In fact, atoms do not exist as separate little balls of energy. I mentioned a singularity, this one tiny subatomic particle whizzing about, creating all that exists under the control of the directors of life. Even that is not exactly true and was said to help explain a difficult concept. In fact, this singularity is God itself, the all that is. As this singularity is God, it can do or become whatever it wants, or rather what it is instructed to do by its trusted allies, the directors of life. So this particle is not only whizzing about, but the directors of life say to it, become an atom of oxygen suitable for a human, and it does. Then they say, create an atom of oxygen suitable for a dog, or a cat, or a horse, or a plant, and it does. And obviously it does the same for all the other different types of atoms that we have. Thus, when we or any other sentient thing draw in a breath of air, we are drawing in God. God is in every atom of everything. Your body is made of zillions of atoms, which are actually this singularity, this point of life. God itself is in the singularity. Thus, all life is connected, and all life is God. Now, I'm going to stop there. This is a difficult concept to understand, and if you've got any questions, please ask, and I'll do my best to answer as usual. Bye.